Hello, friends. Welcome to the Best Mom Ever Parenting Teens podcast, your place to get the tools and strategies you need to have a close and trusting relationship with your kids. Thanks for listening. We are glad you're here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Best Mom Ever podcast. We are so excited to have you. Thank you for listening and for caring so much about your relationship with your kids. So today I have a really exceptional gem I get to share with you. It is a large clip from a recording that I did with Vivek Patel in March of last year. 2023 is last year already. And we're going to talk about, it's like a 40-minute interview. You're used to like more condensed content from me, but Vivek loves to tell stories. And there's a lot of challenge, I think, in terms of Vivek and his approach to parenting and doing that in a really disciplined and loving way, self-disciplined, that is, not to be confused. So if you want to lean into the closest possible relationship that you can have with your kid and the level of closeness that they can experience in their upbringing, then this is definitely a recording you'll want to listen to. Stay tuned, enjoy, and definitely like pop into my Facebook group and share some of your takeaways. That'd be beautiful. So I'm going to ask you one last question, the one that I'm throwing to everyone. I know this interview has gone a little bit long, as we sort of expect with this particular amazing speaker.
Thank you. I love that. I love
it. So I want to ask you, how do you, and we didn't even get to talk about feminism today, but how do you think about teaching your children, or really just the next generation, about their value, their intrinsic value?
Well, I'll tell you that one of the hard parts about that, because I think it's good to understand some of the obstacles, right? One of the hard parts about that is that I don't know my own worth because of my own upbringing. And so for me, a whole lot of the work in helping my kids learn their worth was for me to start to really reclaim my own relationship with myself and my own worth. You know, I was brought up very punitively. My dad hit me a lot. My mom tried her best. She was like, she had both sets of parents and my dad all telling her that she was wrong for wanting to treat us with respect. She really tried. I always say she was the original cycle breaker.
Yeah.
And I just took it to the extreme, But my dad hit me a lot, and it didn't matter, like in public. It didn't matter where we were or what was happening. And punished all the time, and then being bullied in school relentlessly, to the point where my mom thought I wasn't going to survive, and she convinced my dad to sell the house, and we moved out of town so I could get a fresh start in a new school. Although she told me recently that she actually had to lie to my dad and tell her that she wanted a bigger house, and if you move out of the city, you can get a bigger house for the same price, because she knew if she told him that it was for me and my being bullied, that he would never have done it. And I found that out in one of the prison workshops when we were talking about it. And so like I had all of this stuff wired into my system, into my self-concept, right? And so I know in those early days, I projected a lot of that stuff onto my kid. But the thing is, I would notice, just like I love you exactly as you are, always change, I would notice. And I would notice the impact. I was always looking for the impact of my choices on my kid, because I really didn't know what I was doing. I knew I had goals in mind, empowerment and connected relationship and no punishment, but I didn't really know what to do. And there was no Google for me at the time, or Facebook. I didn't have meaningful ideas to go to. And I didn't have a Best Mom Ever conference to listen to back in those days.
Right.
And so I call it stumbling with purpose. I had a purpose, but it was all stumbling around and trying to figure it out. And but what I would do is whenever I would do something with my kid, I would really closely watch the impact. I said, does this make this person open or closed? Do I feel like it increases trust and she's leaning in towards me, or is she pulling away and protecting? And then if it didn't work out, then I'd be like, okay, I'm not doing that again. Let's figure out something else. And also, when we hurt someone else, there's a part of us that hurts. It's part of our connection to our shared humanity. This is where our true empathy and our ethical sense arise from, is our connection to ourselves and each other, and our sense of our shared humanity, not wanting to hurt other people. This is what my mom does in the prison, is she gets the guys back in touch with that sense of their shared humanity, and they don't want to hurt other people. That's why her I say it's hers because I'm her assistant. Really, I go in and talk to the guys and I drive her, but she really created the program, and it's her powerful nature that transforms these fellows. She had a waiting list of like 50 guys waiting to go into it, and it was most recommended and most suggested and most signed up for program in the whole prison. And nobody really quite understood what she did because they couldn't possibly understand this mindset living in that environment, working in that environment. But it's the same thing that getting in touch with that sense of our shared humanity is, and that's where our ethical sense comes from. And we can never do that with punitive methods, but we certainly can inspire that, And I think that's where I forgot exactly what the question was. Where was I?
Oh yeah, we were
talking about my mom.
As we do, right? No, we were talking about getting, being able to communicate our children's worth or their value, especially for our young women.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that on track. I love it. I'm glad that I don't feel embarrassed to ask that.
Absolutely.
That's part of my self-worth work. I totally would have been embarrassed before.
Yeah.
But I always forget, even when I'm doing my own lives and I'm on my own, half the time I forget what story I'm telling in the middle of it. I ask the people who are watching, can you remind me what I was just talking about? And if I realized a long time ago, I'm not going to enjoy speaking, and that's all practically what I do for a living is speaking. I'm not going to enjoy it if I'm always worried every time I make a mistake. I'm just going to be myself.
Exactly.
But I learned that over a long period of time. So me working on that for myself, self-compassion practice, I don't think of self-compassion as a woo wamby mamby wamby thing, wishy-washy thing. I think of it as a discipline. I think of it as a practice. I think of it as like taking medicine, or doing push-ups. It's that fundamental to me, self-compassion. And I teach a micro self-compassion where we give ourselves just a moment of compassion all throughout the day, little moments. Whenever I hear a negative thought or a painful thought for myself, I'm like, no, Vic, I love you. You're a good girl. You're doing okay. You're trying your best. And then I go on. It's like micro self-compassion. I love you as you are. Always change. I love you as you are. And then I go on. And so that self-compassion work is so important in rewiring those patterns so we're not projecting anymore. That's number one. Number two is how we are as a community, right? So when we're working through issues as a community meaning family community, we want to make sure each person's experience, each person's feelings, each person's needs have equal importance in the process. And that the kids feel that their needs and their feelings, and it's not only needs and feelings, it's preferences, it's sensory issues, it's the way the things they like and don't like. People often differentiate between wants and needs. And I'm like, it's all equally important. And we bring all of it to the table, all of our full humanity to the table, and we value all of it. And then when kids feel that the fullness of their humanity is valued by the very people that they're looking to for kind of figuring out who they are. Because I say parents are sacred mirrors because we reflect back to our kids who they are. And they learn so much about who they are and what humanity is from us. That's why when my kid goes out into the world and she's treated with disrespect, she knows right away from her nose to her toes because she knows what respect feels like because she's had a whole life. We make lots of mistakes, but our consistent effort has been there, And so really helping kids feel the fullness of their humanity being honored. And another one is how we respect their boundaries. I know we talk about boundaries a lot in parenting, but we don't often talk a lot about respecting our kids' boundaries.
Yeah.
And kids don't even really know what that is yet. But that 5-month-old knew their boundaries.
Yeah.
Right. And so having that expression of how important that was to me, not only that I just respected it, but it was important to me, that it made me feel good about myself to honor that person's boundaries, right? So this is another thing, really, really having that sense of respecting their boundary, because that's honestly the best way to help them learn to respect other people's boundaries, but also the modeling out loud helps and the exploration helps and all that kind of stuff. And then the other one is countering negative messages, because the kids are going to get negative messages everywhere in the world, and I want to be and you mentioned this, when you're saying it makes sense to say it's okay and it's going to be okay. Countering negative messages is so important because kids are going to, especially young girls, AFAB people and people of marginalized genders, get so many negative messages about their bodies, about how they have to behave to be accepted in society, and then rewiring our own concept of gender expectations is so important. I didn't want my kid to grow up in a box of gender expectations. I wanted her to find out who she is authentically. And my kid is her own person. Like her style is she's so confident in it, the way she dresses or the way she expresses, like all of it is her. It's not really, is it masculine? Is it feminine? I don't know. It's not. It's her, right? And this is what I cared about. But would she come home from school saying, I heard boys have to be like this and girls have to be like this? Of course she did. So then I would go full on guy. That's when I'm full on guy model, right? Like, I'm like, oh, okay, Vivek, here's your opportunity, right? And I don't immediately say no. No, that's not what it is. No, pink is for anyone. Anyone can wear pink.
Right.
That doesn't really help the kid feel it, right?
You're saying go with, right?
Right.
Not push against. That's confusing. Right. Creates resistance.
Exactly. Even if they already don't agree, but they're trying to figure it out. Another one of my things is I wrote an article on Facebook about how to help kids when they have thoughts and ideas that are very different from our values. And maybe, maybe a kid, sometimes parents will come home and tell me a kid says, oh, being gay is stupid because they heard it at school, right? Okay. And immediately, no, we can all let people be whoever they want. It's really going to get through. I say there's no way in from the outside. You have to be in there with them. Oh, really? Tell me about that. Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you're feeling and why you think that. Well, where'd you hear that? Oh, what happened? And so like whenever kids come with something like that, and we have this really open like exploration with them. But what we're talking specifically about body issues and gender expectations here, right? Not general. So when she would come home, or any of the kids I work with would come to me with being impacted by something like that. That's where EARS comes into. I don't want to jump straight to countering because I want them to feel the positive message, not just to hear the positive message. I want it to make sense to them, how it makes their life better, how it aligns with who they want to be. Like I'm always saying, I call it self-reflective questions. Who do you want? What's important to you? What are your values? And so countering negative messages is first with that sense of curiosity and then sharing our values and exploring values. What do you think makes people feel the best in life? What do you think makes our relationships feel really good? And I remember when my kid was like 18 or something, she had just bought this new shirt. And because body positivity was something we were so adamant. My kid was born with a lot of health issues and a lot of body stuff. So like we were always dealing with it. We were in the hospital more than we were at home in the first few years. And so like there was so much focus on her body and always hearing the message her body's not working well from the doctors. Always. Right. And my wife and I were like, we were like so determined that she would love her. I'm feeling tears well up. And I think we were so determined that she would love her body. And so we just put like all of our effort into that. I remember she was 18 and she bought this shirt and we were like, oh, love your shirt. And she said, yeah, my boobs look great in this shirt. And then she went, at least from my perspective, and that's the only perspective that matters. And I remember thinking, yes, like all that work, all the sweat, blood, sweat, and tears, all the scars, all the deep thinking, all the rewiring, it was worth it. All the reflected on mistakes, the stumbling with purpose, it was worth it. Because that's what you want to hear from your kid. I mean, maybe not that exact sentence, but that's what you want to hear.
I'm so impressed. I'm like that you just handled that comment, which could have been super awkward for most dads. You're like, yay, I did a great job as a parent, no sweat.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Thank you for mentioning that. I didn't even think of it. And so it's a deep relationship with their emotions, a deep relationship with their thinking, and a deep relationship with their body, an understanding of communication and how it empowers them. Like these are the things that help kids really have such a strong foundation that the oscillations of the world can't knock them off their relationship with themselves. And so like it's what I call the don't do and the do, right? The don't do is like don't coerce your kid, don't judge them, don't punish them, don't be an authority in their lives, be the learning partner with them. Make sure you have a trusting relationship, safe relationship, guidance that works and improves their life and feels good in their nervous system. Well, I guess I kind of slipped the do there. It's like, don't make the guidance feel bad. Do make the guidance feel good, right? And then the do is the countering negative messages. It's providing your own positive messages about the body. It's how you speak about your own body. My wife was so conscious of her own body issues, and we would talk about it all the time. My wife was so aware of how she would talk about her own body because she has her own body issues growing up the way, like in Trinidad and just life in general. I mean, like it's just, there are very few body positive messages for women and marginalized genders in the world. And for men too. Like I had terrible issues with my body. All of us get terrible body issues. I would never go swimming without a t-shirt when I was young because I was so embarrassed about my stomach. And but nothing compared to what non-males experience. And so like countering negative messages, offering positive messages, and then forming that, working on that deep relationship. So the don't do and the do. So focusing on the don't do and the do.
Oh my goodness, there's been so much in this little segment. I'm so excited to share this with everyone. I know that it's going to really create some opportunities for some very helpful and meaningful shifts in our approach to parenting.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, totally interrupted you. Sorry.
Okay.
Do you want to finish what you were saying?
I was going to say finding ways to not punish.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. The alternatives is challenging,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I've written 500 articles, more than that now, probably closer to 7. And why I have hundreds of videos and why I have like 70 episodes of my podcast, because it's a complex thing. Why I go live all the time on Facebook on Meaningful Ideas. And my YouTube channel has like 100 videos. It's because it's a complex thing. It's not like just do it. Like there's a lot to think about. But the other thing I wanted to mention was being enthusiastically interested in their interests. This is something that's so profound. I remember this time when my kid was in middle school and I was driving her and a few of her friends to like some soccer game at another school because she was a sports kid, I was a sports guy. And at one point, and I gave her, in those days we didn't have the Bluetooth, so I gave her the aux cord and she was playing music through her phone. And she was playing some loud, thrashy, screamo music, right?
Oh, yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I like this story. Keep going. I'm listening.
Yeah. And her, I'm glad I told her before. And her friends were in the back seat and they were whispering, but I could hear them. They didn't know that I was listening. And one of them leaned over and said, "Oh my gosh, your dad lets you play this music?" And she said, "Oh, my dad would never let me play this music." And my kid said, "Yeah, not only does he let me play it, he likes it." Another kid went, "Awesome." She went, "I know." And I still think about that moment because, like, again, that was another yes moment for me, right? Because, like, when my kids started listening to screamo, just like really, really loud thrashing music, and Bring Me the Horizon is one of the bands that she really likes, and so I remember the first time I listened to it, I kind of felt like sandpaper on my brain. Right. But like I had my principles and I had my priorities and I had my plan and I knew what I was doing and I knew what I was focusing on. So I didn't express that. And then parents will say, "Oh, but kids have to learn that people like different things." Yes. But just telling them that and telling them you don't like it is not how they learn it. They learn that by having real confidence in what they like so that they don't have to have other people like the same thing for them to like it. And they learn that largely through us being sacred mirrors and reflecting that to them. Because when we're taking an interest in their interests, we're not only doing that, we're also helping them form a relationship to their interests. This is what I really focused on. So I went back and I started listening to this band. And I started listening to the different instrumentation and the drums and the bass. And I was like, wow, this is actually really complex music. And I started listening to this singer and how I was like, I could not scream like that for 30 seconds. And this fellow's doing it for like the whole song and multiple songs and a whole concert. That's incredible training this voice has to have. So the next day I was like, I started listening to the drums and I started listening to the bass and I started picking it apart. I can still remember the look on her face with what she was like hearing me like take it so seriously. And I did a talk on teens like a few years ago, and I asked her what was one of the things that really helped you as a teenager. And she said this thing, because all her friends would lament it all through high school. They would lament that their parents didn't understand what they were into. It didn't mean I don't listen to Bring Me the Horizon when I'm on my own. I don't have to do that. But when we're together, or when she expresses something about it, she feels my unbridled enthusiasm for what she's into, And that starts, it can be Legos and Pokemon at first, and it could be artistic things like singing and dancing. It could be something that we really don't like maybe your kid wants to write rap and you don't like rap, whatever it is. I love rap, I grew up on rap. But whatever it is, remember that you're helping them form a relationship with their interests. And so your enthusiasm and your connection makes all the difference.
Thank you so much for being with us, Vivek. We love having your insight and your wisdom to share with all of these amazing parents that are on the journey, that are willing to love themselves, whether they are, and change.
Yeah. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, I really encourage everyone not to give up. because it's a hard road. Living a conscious life is hard. It's a constant life of self-reflection and working on things. And it's exhausting. Someone asked me once, Vivek, how do you do all this self-reflection and work without being exhausted? I said, I've been exhausted for 30 years. So there's no real way around it.
So I just want to share big gratitude with all of the parents that are investing in this next generation of incredible teens, and specifically teens that are growing up in such a different world.
Mm-hmm.
So they're so much farther removed from experiences that previous parents have experienced, differences from their children. So I appreciate you all so much for being in this brave space and for listening and being deeply invested in this super hard work. Thank you again, Vivek. And it's been a wonderful interview. We'll see you guys at the next one. Hey friends, I have a quick gift for you from Vivek Patel. It is his free conscious parenting video course where you get to learn how to guide your kids effectively while reducing resistance and increasing cooperation. The goal is to inspire our children to trust our guidance and reduce power struggles. So be sure to download that in the show notes. His course is called Guiding Without Controlling. And I have a special gift for you too. Have a wonderful day and thanks for listening. Hello again, friends. Thank you for listening to the Best Mom Ever Parenting Teens podcast. We know how much it hurts to feel separated from our kids. And we want teens to know just how much love and support is available to them so that they can be successful. If you know that you want to parent with courageous inner calm because it is the best way to create a strong and lasting relationship with our kids and teens, then I have a really special opportunity for you. Pre-registration is free and open now for the 3 keys to restoring trust and connection with your unique teen masterclass series. Master series. Yes. All right. You are going to discover the proven strategies to get out of struggle and into trust, confidence, and happiness with your teen. You're going to learn how to get the conversation with your teen flowing, discover ways you may be sabotaging your relationship, deepen connection with your teen so that you can feel heard and respected, and open up communication so that you can feel confident that you know what is up with your teen. So we can't wait to see you there. We're really excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. Sign up in the show notes. There is a link. All right. See you there.